Seems that Games Workshop's queuing system for Warhammer 40k Leviathan has gone live, as it's finally reached go time for 10th edition's first 40k box, as you can actually buy that over in New Zealand now. Let's talk through Games Workshop's queuing system and what it looks like if you join it. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where Leviathan is going live in the next 12 to 24 hours for everyone out there around the world. And indeed, if you live far closer to the date line in New Zealand, it looks like it's already there and you can start ordering it. Given Games Workshop's rather shaky track record with having a lot of things sell out very quickly, when everyone's going for one enormous box set, I feel like there's at least a fair bit of concern that they won't have enough to meet the demand of people, so enormous hordes of the internet descend on their web store looking to pick up boxes all at once. As Games Workshop have done in the past with a couple of other launches, things like the Heresy and I think one of the Kill Team ones, they've decided to implement a queuing system on their website, basically where if you join the queue, then it means their servers don't get completely overloaded and they only let a certain amount of people into the web store at once and save it going down for hours at a time like it did with the Lions launch. Now that the box set has gone live in New Zealand though, it looks like you can join the queue worldwide, and the Games Workshop web store is locked down and you can't get into it until you've had a waiting period. At time of recording it seems to be a little bit variable. I tried it about half an hour ago and it told me I had an hour to wait but let me in around about 20 minutes, and now trying it again it lets me in almost instantly, though you still get to see the queue system before you go in. If you're looking to pick up the box set in the morning for either the UK, USA or EU, it's definitely not worth joining the queue at the moment. Apparently the system that they use is that they'll have you wait for a certain amount of time as per the people who turn up, and then when you actually get access to the web store you have 10 minutes then to make your purchase, before after that you're kicked out again so other people can join. Means that if you join now, you just get your allocated slot, likely miss it if you're asleep or something, and then be kicked out, so you'd have to try again sometime in the morning. I think it is kind of handy to see the system though, and how you might go about joining it, and there are a few interesting hints and teasers on the queuing page itself for information and stuff as you wait. When you click onto the Games Workshop web store at the moment, you're greeted by this banner rather than the usual place where you can sort for different units and things. A nice great big picture of the Space Marine captured in Terminator armor fighting against a Screamer Killer Carnifex, presumably in addition to the one that he's stomping into the dirt on his base, and the tagline Leviathan, you've joined the queue. Don't worry, you can leave this page and do other things without losing your place in line. Depending on your browser settings, you might receive an audio notification when you're at the front of the queue. I would probably keep it open myself and keep it minimized. Doesn't really make sense to navigate away and risk missing notifications and things. Slightly below that, there's a bit of a timer. It says to ensure everyone has their chance to get their hands on the incredible Warhammer 40k Leviathan box, we've temporarily added a queuing system to our web store and restricted the time of the site for all customers, apologising for any inconvenience. They provided some in-queue entertainment, and they say your estimated wait time, here you can see it was 3 minutes for me. I'd guess it would probably be far longer than this in the morning. I remember on one of the previous times that I saw the queuing thing for their web store, it was around about an hour to an hour and a half, though often went down a little bit as some people left it. I'm sure it's going to get quite a lot bulkier when there's a lot more people trying to join it, particularly around go time in the EU and UK, and then again in the USA. They say that when you reach the front of the queue, you'll have 10 minutes to complete your order. If you do not complete the order in this time, your slot will be allocated to the next person in the queue. So it does mean there's some element of sitting around and waiting for it to pop up. You can't really afford to miss it for too long. A bit annoying, but probably worth it on balance if it helps stop a whole load of these going to scalpers. Further down the page, there's a quick graphic of when to pre-order Leviathan, the different time zones around the world, usually around 10 or 11. 11 AM in Europe and Japan, 10 AM in New Zealand, Australia, the UK and the USA. Obviously you folks across the Atlantic in the USA have your different time zones. Looks like it's Pacific time over there, PDT. Maybe just taking pity a little bit on the people who are waiting to get their box set. Games Workshop have got a few trailers for Leviathan and things further down the page. They've got a video of that nice cinematic trailer, and looks like you can watch these while staying on the web page and not losing your place. Kind of hope that they have made enough Leviathan things. It would just seem a little bit mean to have these teaser trailers out there and then get sold out by the time people reach their web store. As well as that, they also seem to have a teaser for the new Leviathan book as well. I believe that's going for pre-order at the same time. The new Black Library book by Darius Hinks, which I guess will be set on Ogham, judging by their campaign series, is the one that stars that Tyranid hunting lieutenant making a fight back against the Leviathan. Quite fun they give you a little text preview of that one. It's a fun little snippet of 40k lore. On getting through the queue, I'm pleased to report that at least it hasn't seemed to have sold out instantly in New Zealand, so it looks like if I was based over there and I was ready and waiting at go time, I would absolutely be able to pick one up right now. Hopefully that remains the case for the rest of the world as well, and they haven't underestimated demand. If they were sold out of these, there'd be a no longer being distributed on the web store or something like that, or occasionally they just remove it outright. It's fairly prominent when you click through onto the web store, really quite a big banner at the front and centre of the page. It is what most people are going to be looking for that day, though I'm sure just searching the word Leviathan in the keyword bar would also bring it up good and easily. I think everyone's hoping that they have made enough of this launch box. They've been hyping it up for months, and so there's some really cool stuff in the box. Plus, with access to the mission cards and the rulebook and things, it's how a lot of people are going to be playing their first games of 10th edition. So it's about as high in demand as any 40k box set gets. We've covered the box set content several times on the channel: Space Marine characters, 5 Terminators, some Infernus Marine Stern Guard, and the Ranged Dreadnought, fighting against a much bigger horde of Tyranids, 30 swarms with 20 of those being Termagants, the Winged Prime and the new cool Neurotyrant with his Little Brain Neuraloid accessories, the spooky Barb Gaunts with their -2 movement debuff, Von Ryan's Leapers to fight first and infiltrate, the Screamer Killer and the Psychophage for a little bit of monstrous muscle. As well as that, there's the Leviathan core book, the chapter approved mission deck for those cards for how you can play 10th edition 40k, and the transfers and the start collecting book. I guess that'd be the one that has the codes to allow you to enter a game on their campaign. As we talked about earlier in the week, Leviathan very much seems to be a very good deal for Warhammer 40k. If I'd had to guess at the cost that Games Workshop would charge these miniatures for individually, it's around about a 75% off. Basically unheard of good for Games Workshop, though obviously bear in mind it's 2 different armies and you might not have use for both of them. They are monopose kits, not the multi-pilled kits, so what you see is what you get pretty much. And obviously it's a high entry price, full stop at £150 or $250, and that is a small hurdle in itself unless you can find someone to split it with. It is good though, I think, and it's unsurprising that it's high in demand. I'd say Games Workshop's web store is probably the most reliable place to get them, but there's certainly plenty of other opportunities. Third-party local gaming stores might not get quite as much as they want to ideally, but they could be a very solid place to go to. If you are kind of quick, they'll be selling Leviathan at a discount. I would expect these guys to sell out in fairly short order, and then Games Workshop web store being the fallback for most people. I have Gap Games and Element Games as channel affiliates linked down in the video description. Gap Games usually gives around 20% off in Australia, Element Games usually around 15% in the UK. Any sales through them help support the channel quite a lot, whether it happens to be Leviathan boxes or any other Warhammery goodness. Otherwise, bear in mind that there'll be a whole ton of them shipped to their actual brick and mortar stores on the 24th. Judging by Indomitus, there will be literally thousands and thousands of more of them there. They should be somewhat safer from the scalpers, as you can't get bots to walk into brick and mortar stores to pick them up. Plus there's the effort of actually travelling there, which I guess is another rationing system. Not necessarily helpful if you don't live anywhere near a Warhammer store though. Otherwise, I would bear in mind that there'll be plenty of individual units or halves of the box set going on eBay from people who don't want one of the halves. I certainly wouldn't go buying things at grossly inflated prices from scalpers, but with so much of a supply going around, they should have some fairly reasonable prices just by competition. Otherwise, Games Workshop and the third-party stores will have a few little extras going as well. Not something that would really influence where I pick them up for, but apparently the web store will give you some double-sided gaming boards if you buy a set. Warhammer shops will give you some acrylic tokens with objective markers and wound counters and battle shock tokens. The objective and the battle shock markers do look kinda nice, I think, and third-party sellers apparently get some of these deployment zone markers or a rather cool-looking dice tray, though it might be a little bit on the small side. In any case, good luck trying to pick one of these up if you're going for them. I really do hope that for everyone's sake that Games Workshop has made enough, and we're not going to have a repeat of the Indomitus fiasco. Let me know your thoughts down in the video description or any other updates as to how things are going with the sale. I'm not going to be around too much over the weekend to cover things, though I might try and snap off a video Saturday night to see how things have gone with the launch. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to help support, then either check out those affiliates down in the video description. Element Games and Gap Games have got good reputations and give some decent discounts, or otherwise the channel Patreon page is linked there. Any support on there helps the creation of future videos, and also gives a few advantages like seeing certain videos early, or votes on what comes next for the channel. Take a look if you like, but in any case an absolutely massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.